Good afternoon, I'm Maddie. I'm your Wellbeing Coordinator, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan Wellbeing Coordinator. And today we're going to be making a very simple recipe. It doesn't take a ton of time to make besides the cooking process. And you can feel free to try to change it up, add whatever you want to it. Add some more vegetables if you want, but I just decided to kind of give you the base, keep it very simple. And it's a good, hearty, good fats, full of protein, really good flavor and very filling. And you can also try to make this vegan or vegetarian friendly. And that would just be switching up a couple ingredients, and I'll walk you through that. So just playing around with it and seeing if you like this recipe. So what I have is 1 pound of ground pork. You can make more, that's just what we had in our fridge. So I have that. There's no it's not like sausage or anything. I always just buy the regular pork I've mentioned before, and then I add my own seasoning to it to make it more of a sausage flavor. So I have these bigger muffin tins. You could also use like where it's the 12 ones, and they're smaller, so that would just use less meat in there and more eggs. So this one's going to use more meat, less eggs. So just kind of based off of if you want to make them smaller, you can do them that way, or you can make them larger. So I am going to start with my ground pork. I put a little bit of pepper in there, a couple turns of pepper into the pork, and then I added some salt, a couple turns of salt, probably about a half teaspoon to a teaspoon, depending on how much of a flavor you want to bring out. And then I also added a half a teaspoon of nutmeg, or I'll add a half a teaspoon of nutmeg. I need to put that on my grocery list now. Nutmeg out. So after I added that, I'm going to add some fresh thyme from my garden. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the leaves, strip the leaves off, throw them in there. Stripping the leaves. Oops. Throwing it in there. There we go. Going down on the stem. Oops. And pulling those leaves off. Throwing them in there. So this is going to be, you can also use dried as well. So I always add more because I love it. I love the smell of it and everything. So I will add about a teaspoon of it to the recipe. You can add a half to if you're not a huge seasoned person. So I know some people really are not huge. They don't like a ton of seasoning. So I'm gonna add one more little sprig. If you're doing it fresh, I added about 4 sprigs of it. Okay, so I have those. I'm gonna put those off to the side. And then what I did is I greased up these pans. I used coconut oil, but you can use whatever oil that you want. Grease them up. Put those aside. I'm gonna add paprika and parsley on top once I add the egg in there. So I'm going to mix these up kind of lightly, just mixing it all together, not over mixing the meat. Okay, so this is ready. So I'm going to take about a golf ball size, I'm going to place it in the pan, and then I'm just going to kind of form a cup. So you're going to form kind of like a cup in the pan. You can add more to it, which I just kind of go, and I fill up the bottom so the bottom's covered, and then go up the edges. So you can go as tall as you want, you can go all the way to the top, or you can just kind of go slightly below. And I'll go through, once I have each of my cups filled, I'll go through and fill in whatever I have left over in the cups. Or in my bowl, I should say. So I'm going to kind of try to keep it even as much as I can. This is a really good recipe to make, especially if you need a grab-and-go breakfast. It's very filling. It's high in protein, good fats in it. It's not going to be overly fatty, but it will be filling. So, and you can add vegetables to this too. So if you want to, you can always add some peppers to it, some onions. You can add it to the cups, or you can add it to the top of the egg after I put it in there. Feel free to do that. We are running low on vegetables and we don't have any peppers in the house. So just using what we have. This is something that we just kind of stumbled upon and made. That's a lot of our recipes. They're just kind of playing around, stumbling upon good ideas to make. So I'm just going to form those in there. Now, if you wanted to make these vegan or vegetarian friendly, I haven't tried this before, but I've seen it from friends that have tried this recipe, tried like a variation of this in a vegan, vegetarian, meatless way. And what they used is that you could use quinoa and then make a flax egg. Use one flax egg, mix it up. You would have to look the exact measurements, but using that quinoa and then forming it to the cup of that flax egg, and then putting whatever toppings you want on the inside of it. If you don't do dairy, but you do eggs, then you can put the egg, still crack the egg, just make the cup. Or you don't do meat, but you still do eggs. Whatever your diet is, you can kind of make it to how to fit your needs. But I know with this, you can make it into a cup using quinoa and making a flax egg. And then you just add a ton of vegetables to that recipe and you cook it. I'm just going to add a little more meat to my cups. You could also add like other spicy seasonings. Say you want to make it more Cajun-y or chipotle flavored. Do it that way. You could also try to do this because it's going to be a very similar texture. Let's just do this with ground beef and make these more of using ground beef. If you don't want to do pork or you don't do pork, use ground beef and use ground chicken or ground turkey. So totally up to you what ground meat you use, but this is like super simple recipe. So putting that in there, I'm gonna wash my hands. To crack the egg in there. So I'm going to take the eggs, grab my little container, put them in. So take an egg, I'm going to crack it, sit in there. These are, use any eggs you want. These are just from our chickens that we have. So if you use the 12 pan, you'll be using a dozen of eggs. So, okay, awesome. On there, and then I'm gonna wash my hands. Okay. So then I'm going to take it, I'm going to sprinkle some paprika over the top of these eggs. something to them. You can add a little spicy, Cajun, whatever seasoning that you kind of want to add to it. And then I'm going to add some parsley. So I added probably about a teaspoon, just a little sprinkle, about a teaspoon total on top of the egg, and then just a sprinkle of parsley on top of them, just to give it a nice little color. And then I turned the oven, I warmed it up to 350. So the oven's warmed up 350, you're gonna cook it for 30 minutes. I would keep checking it, that's how long we cook it in our oven. So you can keep checking it, just making sure, maybe set it to 25, check it, maybe your oven will cook it faster. But ours takes about 30 minutes to cook in our oven at 350. So I'm just gonna pop these bad boys in. Oops. And there I knocked the camera, you know, nothing ever fails. Okay, so. Let me adjust that. So that is all. You're going to cook it 30 minutes and then pop it out. You'll know when it's done just when you tap the egg. And the egg should be kind of like a little harder, but not fully. If you want to fully cook it through, just wait until you tap the top and there's kind of no give to it. The meat will be fully cooked after the 30 minutes. You can also use the thermometer if you want to just check to make sure. But other than that, everything else is kind of good to go. Now it's just a waiting game until you can enjoy the delicious recipe. Like I said, try out, there's a vegan and vegetarian option where you use quinoa and a flax egg, and then you just add a ton of vegetables to it and cook it that way. So try that recipe out. I've seen a ton of them, so you can kind of look it up online. But other than that, that is what I have for you today. I hope you enjoy. I hope you have a good, happy, healthy day. Comment below if you liked the video or if you watched it, so I can give you points for the Strive for 5 program where you can earn 8 hours of PTO as a Kalamazoo County employee. Thank you. Have a good rest of your day.